Hey everyone, I have a very exciting show for you today. I actually have a show today that I hope to do more and more of. We are bringing on a father and son to talk about real estate investing, one rental at a time, and just the whole conversation of money, cash flow, all of those things. So let's welcome Edwin and Justice to the show. How you guys doing?
We're good. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Edwin, why don't you kick us off, introduce who you are, where you are in the world, how we are connected, and then we'll turn it over to Justice in a minute.
So I live in New York City, actually in the Bronx, out of Manhattan. But I lived here my whole life. I served in the military. I tried my hand in real estate about 13 years ago.
Okay.
And it didn't go well. And I was kind of skeptical, but now I'm giving it another go. And now it's more for legacy than more than because I'm comfortable where I'm at in life. So I'm trying to leave things better for the future.
Edwin, if you don't mind, tell me about so that would have been 2007. When you said you dabbled in it then, was that flipping, buy and hold? What were you doing back?
Buy and hold. Like yourself, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Right.
And it inspired me at a young age, but I went away to the military. So when I came back from the military, I had some money saved and I bought property in upstate New York in Rochester.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't do much research other than seeing if it cash flowed on paper, like you said, the Excel spreadsheet. And I overextended myself. I bought 2 properties instead of starting with 1.
Yeah.
And it didn't go well.
Yeah, I got you. All right, Justice, young man, you're 13. We got that coming in. You want to say anything about introduce yourself to the world here of YouTube University?
I'm Justice. Yeah.
Well, Justice, thank you for agreeing to do this. I know it has to feel uncomfortable talking to some crazy guy that you've never met about real estate and investing. It sounds like you have a couple of questions for me. You've started reading the book and you're participating in the $100 challenge. So I tell you what, you complete the book, you write a report. I guarantee you will get $100 just for doing this. So, but you got to complete it, man. You got to read it. You got to do the book report. So you got $100 in your future. But
does that sound?
That sound fair?
He said he can't plagiarize, but yeah.
No, your dad and I will know that. Yeah, we're not going to play. It's a real $100. So you had some initial questions for me. Why don't we jump in?
How should I start investing at 13 or doing real estate?
That's a good question. So first and foremost, anyone, whether you're 13, 18, 28, 38, on and on and on, the first thing you need to do is you need to learn your market. Right? That's something I talk about ad nauseum. It's the most important thing for me because you really need to understand a market. What's an average deal? Because every area has an average deal, and your job as an investor, as you grow and mature, is not to do average. We never do average in one rental at a time. Your deal, all you have to do is find good or great deals, right? So if average, I'll just pick on the Bronx because that's where you're from. If average is a 4% yield, your job, Justice, will be to do a 5, 6, 7, 8% yield. Do you know? Are you a baseball player by chance? So I don't know if you've seen this, but there's an old guy named Ted Williams. He's the last guy to hit 400. Have you heard of him? So he has a famous, I think it's on YouTube somewhere. I've seen it, where he talked about how he did it, and basically he designed the square, right?
The strike zone.
The strike zone. Thank you. And he selected which 12 balls were good for him that gave him the best chance to succeed. And that's the only stuff he would swing at. So what I'm trying to teach is that same kind of idea with real estate, right? If you look at the market of the Bronx, there's lots of stuff listed, but most of it's junk or overpriced. So your job, and you can't rush this, your job is to look at it and go, okay, these are the things that make a deal good. And starting at 13 is amazing because what you'll be able to do for the next 2 years, just part-time, is you could know the Bronx I'm just saying the Bronx, whatever market you pick, you could know the Bronx better than 99% or 98% of the real estate agents, just because you're comfortable with apps, you know what's going on, your dad can take you around. So I think you got a home run. Don't be in a rush to put money to work. You need to become an expert in whatever market you choose. So that's priority number 1. And that holds whether you're 13, 33, whatever. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What else?
I don't know.
Read the question.
Like I really don't understand an alligator.
Ah, yes. So, one of the things that your dad and I both experienced the last real estate cycle is there's Excel. You know what Excel is, right? I don't want to assume, right? Excel cash flow, meaning, hey, this house tells me at the end of the day, I'm going to have $200 in my account and I'm going to be able to do whatever I want with that $200. And then there's reality, right? Reality and Excel cash flow almost never connect. They're never the same. So what I turned to is I never thought negative cash flow was painful enough, right? Meaning that I had a friend, I think I talked about it in the book, I don't know if you're there yet, who had the balls to tell me, I make so much money in my day job, I can have 4 negative cash flow properties. And negative cash flow means for the right to own those 4 houses, he had to cut a check out of his job, take money out of his bank account so 4 other people can live there. That's not what rental property or investment property should be. So given that negative cash flow wasn't painful enough, I created this thing called an alligator. And I think there's a picture of it in the book that says no alligator.
Yeah. Can you see the alligator in the book?
There's a picture of it. Yeah, I don't remember. It's somewhere early in the book. Yeah. And basically when you look at that picture, it's an alligator eating a bag full of money in cash, right? And that's what it is. If you buy a house that's negative cash flow, you are hiring this nasty man-eating, meat-eating thing that is just going to consume cash. Think about owning an investment property and you have to work 3 hours a month or 6 hours a month or 10 hours a month to feed that thing. That thing's an alligator. I don't want alligators. And I made a mistake of creating an alligator one time because the banks told me, hey, this place is worth 200 grand. Come take all this money. And at the end of the day, yeah, I had a little bit of money put away, but now that property every month consumed like 4 hours of my week. And that just sucks. So that's why I created an alligator. And that's why I have that picture of an alligator just eating money. So I thought it was more entertaining. And then I put it on a t-shirt and I work out in it all the time just to remember no alligators. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So really think of an alligator as consuming dollars. And if that doesn't make sense to you, consuming hours, right? Would you want to work 3 hours a week so some other family could live in a rental property? That's not what people want, right? You want cash flow so that you can benefit from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Edwin,
So-
does that make sense?
Yes, he was asking me on our walk yesterday about the alligator, and he asked if on a turnover,
Yeah.
do you consider the property an alligator since it's not producing income?
Oh, see, he's really thinking ahead. That's awesome. Not many people would go there at such a young age. So first off, when you build out the pro forma of the property, you should include some reserves for turnover, bad debt, things of that nature. So you should always be building reserves every month. But yeah, I would consider a month vacancy an alligator. Absolutely. I mean, in theory, I mean, if that goes longer than a month, lower the rent because you need to have that asset performing. But yeah, I would think of it that way. You should. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very intuitive question.
That way. I never thought of it that way. I just thought of alligators were something that was performing at its peak level, but still wasn't producing income.
Yeah, I think you could take it both ways, but I like where he's going. Right at 13, he's already asking that second level question. You're doing something right. That is, I know many adults that wouldn't pick up that question. So kudos to him. That's pretty clever.
Next question, sir.
If I start now, how long would it take me to be financially free?
Oh, I'm so glad that question came up. The good news is I believe you are in 100% control of that. And what I mean by that is the whole key to financial freedom is not how much you make, but it's how much you freaking spend. Right? Because, I was 13 once too, way back in the 80s. And I was making pretty good money in high school, right? I was a commission-based sales rep for a retailer. And I made like 30 grand as like a 17-year-old, which is, I was a senior in high school. So I had all the toys, right? All the toys, no expenses, all the toys. But what happens is if you expand your lifestyle like I did into that, you never save anything. And if you don't save, you don't invest. So it should be earn, save, invest. So why I bring this up first is if you can keep your monthly expenses, to pick a number, $2,000 a month, you could be financially free by the time you're 21. If you, seriously, right? And
I told them, because I watch your videos every day, and I showed them, I don't remember his name, the flipper in Florida that has the Lamborghini.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I told him it took him 10 years. And I was like, I think you could do it in less.
Absolutely.
But you just have to be focused, and hopefully like me trying to help you out will give you a head start rather than starting from like scratch and to figure out everything on your own.
Yeah. And again, let's talk about that story, right? So there's an interview on my channel in the last week about a 29-year-old who went out and bought a $250,000 light blue Lamborghini, right? That was his goal. It took 10 years. But I want to make sure we talk about that a little bit, because sometimes guys, you and I, all of us, we see that and we go, shoot, we want that, right? We want that whip. And what you don't sometimes appreciate is he could have bought that Lamborghini years ago. He had enough income where he could have bought it like 5 years ago. But you got to remember what he did is he sacrificed the next 5 years so that when he did buy it, it didn't impact his growth, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about. You could be done at 21, right? You could start this at 18 when you're legally able to sign contracts. And let's say you have success by the time you're 20. If you go out and buy a $250,000 car at 20, you're just guaranteeing you're going to work longer, right? Because that's expensive. Just the insurance on that for a 20-year-old. Can you imagine what that would be? Like 20 grand a year, right? Which is like $1,500 a month. So just remember, what you are in 100% control of how early you can be financially free. And if you can keep your expenses at 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever that number is, the earlier you can get out. I know a buddy of mine whose monthly number was 20 grand. That's a lot of money, right? So it's going to take him like 15 or 18 years. It just takes longer to make 20 grand a month than 2 grand. So does that make sense, or am I just talking nonsense?
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So let's talk about it more, because I want other young people to understand this, right? So what are some things you want, right? What is stuff you want to buy?
I don't know yet.
Like, you want a fancy car?
He varies. We were talking about dream cars.
Okay.
And he wanted a Nissan GTR or a Honda Civic hooked up.
Oh.
And those are two big different price ranges.
Yeah.
But so it varies.
All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
He's also stated like one of his dreams is to own a restaurant.
Okay.
So he has a couple of things. So you do have dreams. You're just not sharing them right now.
That's okay. He's 13. And I'm a stranger, so I get it. How about, where do you want to live? You ever thought about that?
Just like a nice apartment. I don't like big houses.
Cool. So what do you think a nice apartment costs? Rent or own, I guess. I don't know.
Owning at least $2 million.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's talk about this, right?
I don't know.
So his mother works downtown in an affluent area, and go visit once in a while, and so they have a doorman, and so he's thinking about live somewhere like that.
That's okay. I'm good.
It's in Manhattan, so
yeah,
inexpensive there.
But no, this is exactly what we should be talking about. So let's equate $2 million nice apartment for him. So what that means is you're going to have a mortgage payment or a rent payment of probably, I don't know, 8 grand, 9 grand, probably, right? So that's your mortgage payment. Let's just call it 8 grand for easy math. You're going to have groceries, utilities, I mean, whatever. So you're probably going to spend another $4,000, right? You're probably going to be a young man. You want to be out dating and going all around and entertaining yourself. So let's throw a couple of more $1,000 on the pile. And, you're pretty soon, you're up to like 16,000 a month. Does that make sense how we got there?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about, right? You grow into that and you're suddenly what is a $2 million apartment. If you just said, I'm not trying to move you out of New York by any means, but I just want to do simple math, right? If you go from New York to like New Jersey,
he just said that you just motivated him to want to move out of New York.
Sorry, mom and dad. But yeah, if we went to New Jersey,
I potentially could retire in 3 years, and moving out of New York, I'm trying to convince the whole family.
Florida.
There you go. Well, yeah. So I mean, just talk about that, right? Just if you take your housing expense from $8,000, let's call it $10,000 because you have all those extras in housing. If you took your $10,000 a month housing expense to anywhere else in the country and made it $4,000, easier to retire, right? Right? It's these choices as a young individual you have to make. And I made them all wrong, right? I was 23 years old and I bought a $60,000 car. How stupid was that, right? I was 25 years old and I did this, and I was 28 and did that. All these things made it so I couldn't retire early. You have the choices in front of you. And it's going to be like housing and cars and anything that adds to the monthly expenses that's either going to make it easier for you or harder to retire. You will not retire at 21 if you have an $8,000 a month housing expense. Sorry, not going to happen. Understood?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Edwin, is that okay?
All right. I'm all about keeping the expenses low. I've been my whole life a saver.
Yeah.
Yourself, I grew up with not a lot, so the only way I was able to accumulate some money was by saving.
Yeah. I love that shirt, by the way. Everything is awesome. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want a positive shirt.
That's right. Hope, not fear.
I try to wear a Hawaii shirt, but mom wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
You moms.
He's actually decent at keeping the expenses low.
Awesome.
Math.
And even when he was younger, I used to ask him what he wanted for Christmas. And I remember being 6 years old and I had a list of things I wanted. He would tell me nothing. He didn't want anything. So nice. I think he has a shot.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think, and again, talking with you in the game, you had a little hiccup in 07, which is going to be extremely valuable lessons for him, right? You're going to save him. Yeah, I like his chances. Did you have one more question? I think you had 4, right?
Yeah, I think. Wait. What's the best advice you could give about real estate?
So let's think about that. So I think there's a couple we've talked about. First is don't be in a rush. Sometimes the best thing to do is not do a deal, right? When you get a little money in your pocket, sometimes you feel like you're in a rush. And I hear that a lot, especially from people that are over 30. They're like, oh my God, I'm behind. I know what I'm doing. I've worked so hard. I have to do something. And frankly, New York might be an exception, but most of the country right now, supply is really low. So it's a really tough time to get started because there's bidding wars. So don't be in a rush is one. Number 2, we just hit is keep your expenses low, right? I do believe if you're a teenager watching this, you have the ability to be done between 25 and 30. Right? Because all of you eventually will move out of your parents' house. You'll do these other things. So your expenses will never be 2,000, right? That's a number I threw out early just to have a low bar. But if you can keep it $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, you can be done by 25 to all of you watching this as teenagers should be done by the time you're 30. And it's 100% your call. Nobody else is going to make the expensive choices. It's all on you. Then another one that people sometimes don't get is sometimes it's a good time to sell. When you get done with the book, you'll see a couple of different times where we sold, right? Some people talk about buy and hold, like buy and hold forever. But frankly, if people want to overpay for stuff that I own, and it doesn't make sense, I'll sell and then I'll use the cash somewhere else. So, you'll see in the book probably where you are right now. We took those first 8 houses and we did 1031 exchanges to go to 80 units in apartments because houses were overpriced. Like you've seen probably in New York sometimes. They go stupid crazy and then they fall and they go back up and they fall. So, yeah. And then the last one, of course, is learn your market. Yeah, really at 13, by the time you're 15 or 16, you can know the market better than 99% of New York real estate agents. And that's going to be a gold mine because you'll be able to JV with people because you can't sign contracts. That value you will have, you could be making chunk money. I mean, you could be making 10 to 20 grand a year just by finding deals and then partnering with people or any of that. So stay close to your dad.
I think
Cleveland is good. They have a whole bunch of 1%.
We went, I know how you feel about the 1% rule, but to the part in your book that you was looking for property in 1%. So he was like, oh, is that good? I'm like,
nah, maybe.
It can be good, but it depends. Yeah. But anyway, since there's like no summer programs this summer, I think that we're going to, as father-son, we're going to do the 75-day hard challenge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He doesn't know that yet, but he has a lot of free time. So,
aha. Yeah, that's a completely free. It doesn't cost you any money. Pick a market together and just learn it. You will be amazed at what you learn. You'll know 75 people in the market. You'll know 40 hours of material. You'll understand. It's just there's nothing can go wrong by trying to do that challenge. I think that's a great idea to do, and do it together and talk about that over dinner or something. Or in the morning on a run. I mean, can you imagine a better father-son building experience? That'd be awesome. All right.
He went to Cleveland to check out stuff over there, so that's why he's mentioning Cleveland.
Yeah, I think learning Cleveland would be great. I mean, then you'll know if the 1% rule is good because I have people that invest in Cleveland and there are areas where it works, but you just can't do it blindly. And if you do the 75-day hard challenge, you're going to probably find the area it makes sense. And I think Cleveland's a fine area, but you've got to do the work. You just can't be blind and go, hey, check. Hey, look at that. I'll take that one. That's too risky, as you know. And so any other questions from either of you?
No. I actually seen you yesterday on a YouTube channel on Jim
Ingersoll.
And funny. What?
Was it Jim Ingersoll's?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of funny because really tied up on your channel, or you're really clean. And then when I saw you on Jim's channel, you was like almost like a mini Andrew Dice Clay. And it was funny.
Yeah.
I understand. Like you told me your mother watches, so you try to keep it clean.
Yeah.
And PG.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, that was a live audience, and I tend to mirror the audience, and that audience was having fun with me. So yeah, I let the language go. Yeah, I can be clean, but I also can go. Yeah, I can go R-rated for sure. That's funny. Oh, that's funny. So Edwin, how about you? Any questions for me since you got me here?
I don't think I have any questions.
Okay.
Let me see. Oh, I do have a question.
Awesome.
Listening to that interview yesterday, well, not interview, when you were doing the presentation, you said you had no dreams of being financially free.
Yeah.
That you were just looking for the next deal. If you was just doing that, what was the purpose of just finding the next deal if you wasn't looking to be financially free?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm glad you picked that up. Nobody else has picked that up. So one of the things, so you got to remember, so I started at 30. I didn't have anything growing up. Nobody in my family was really wealthy, right? Like it wasn't, for many times we were comfortable. I mean, my aunts and uncles, they always seemed to have stuff going on. So I'm trying to be, because my mom will watch this. It was clear that sometimes we were equals and sometimes we weren't, right? We had stuff at different times because my father was either unemployed or whatnot. So for me, it was working hard was ingrained in me. right? My mom showed me that. I mean, she didn't work till I was in high school, but she daycared and did all this other stuff to make us, have a little bit more. So hard work was there. And I had just been burned in the stock market, right? I'd lost, 6 figures in the stock market. That hurt, right? Because I just gotten 6 figures, which is $100,000. And I was feeling like king of the mountain, right? Because nobody in my family, at least that I knew of, and I could be wrong, but I'd never heard anybody have $100,000. And I was 30 years old or 29 or whatever. I was like, wow, I made it. And then it was gone. Poof. And so what I wanted to do is I just wanted to keep building. I had to focus on something because I only had 15 minutes a day because I still had to travel. I still had a day job. Had a family, was raising a daughter. So I wanted to buy the next one, put it on the shelf, buy the next one, put it on the shelf. I didn't know where this could go. I had no role models. I just kept leaning forward and moving. And, looking back on it, I should have celebrated more. I should have seen it coming. But yeah, the lack of role models was a big problem for me in the beginning. I'm a competitive person, so it was easy for me to say, hey, this was a 6% yield. I want the next one to be better and the next one to be better. So that's something I could digest and I could execute. That's all I had time for. I still struggle with dreams, right? I don't have a big, I don't have a dream board if you've seen one of those, right? I don't have a car and a house and a vacation.
I saw someone trying to push you to double your.
Yeah.
And you said you would think about it.
Yeah.
To double your monthly net income.
Yeah.
I understand. Like for myself, I came from humble beginnings.
Yeah.
Speaking to a high school teacher, and she asked me what I wanted as an adult, like what I thought success would be. And mine was simple. I was like, I wanted to make $1,000 a week. Yeah. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
And then she asked me a different question. She's like, is that net or gross? And I was like, net. And she's like, well, you need to make this much money.
Right.
In order to get that. And I'm there. We live comfortable. We have 2 incomes.
Yeah.
And we're able to go on vacations once a year to almost anywhere we want. And but now it's more about building and improving and leaving stuff for the future generations.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I freely admit it. I struggle still, right? I'm sitting here at now almost 48 and I'm comfortable. And sometimes that bothers me, right? And what do I mean by comfortable? Let's just pick a number. My bills are $8,000 and I get $10,000, right? So my bills are covered, right? And they're covered every month. So guess what? I get to do these YouTube channels from 6:30 to 8 a.m. I get to have breakfast with my wife. I get to work out from 10 to 11:30. I get to go do whatever I want in the afternoon. I got a pretty good life, right? I mean, by everybody's measure. But then I get these people coming on, throwing up $250,000 Lamborghinis at 29. I'm like, shit, where's my gold? Why am I not lazy?
You got to get your competitive juices flowing
again. So I still struggle. But, my goal now is to really, what I need to be comfortable with is I want to pull people up the ladder. I'm going to stay where I'm at. I have no interest, because what would doubling my cash flow do in the real world? Nothing. It would do nothing for anybody. But if I can sit where I'm at, I can pull up 100 people a year or whatever and get them on their journey. I think that's going to fill my cup a little bit more than making an extra 5, 8.
I took your course. I don't know if you know, but I your course, and I took it only for the purpose of finding what a good deal was. I was like, I want to know how he measures deals, and it's helped.
Good. Yeah, and that will help you, because the 75-day hard challenge, I think step 1 and 2 kind of use what's in the course, so you'll have a head start, and you'll be able to train him as well. So that's cool. Well, guys, thank you very much for doing this. I can't believe doing this as a 13-year-old. That's awesome. If you ever need anything, you can reach out to me, ask any questions. Your father's got my email. So if I can help you, I will. All right?
Having us.
You got it, buddy. Thank you.